Back here on Debrief, and coming up on Monday, the second and final round of voting in primaries for the Israeli Labor Party. It's about the future of that center-left party, but in many ways, it's really about the future of the entire Israeli left wing and whether they can finally come out of the shadow of the right that's controlled Israeli government for decades. Ahead of Monday's vote, an Israeli media poll is laying out the map of where political support stands now. Of 120 seats, the ruling right-wing Likud party still in the lead with 28 seats in parliament. Behind it, then, the center-left Yesh Atid, and behind that, the Labor. That same poll shows that right-wing parties joining forces with religious parties would give them a clear majority, while the center, the left, and the joint list of Arab parties all together would fall short. Here with me to debate it, Hilik Bar, member of Israeli parliament in the centrist Zionist Union Party, who's backing former defense minister Amir Peretz. And in the studio, Michal Biran, a member of Israeli parliament in the centrist Zionist Union Party as well, backing candidate Avi Gabay, a newcomer to the Labor Party. So, Hilik, I want to start with you. Let's just look at each candidate for a moment. Why do you think that your candidate, that Amir Peretz, is the one that might be able to finally propel the left wing and the center-left to more relevance?
For a few reasons. First, we are living in Israel, not in some island. We are in the middle of the Middle East, and we need people with experience. So all the talking about new against old is not relevant. Amir have experience, maybe the most experience out of all the politicians that I know in the security issues, in the social affairs, and he made historic decisions and laws that affects the worlds of all of us. And I think, to your question, that Amir is the only one that proved before that he's the only one that can bring new audiences, new voters to the Labor Party from the right wing or the soft right wing votes from the Israeli periphery. And what you mentioned before is that it's exactly our task to bring votes to expand, to make the bloc bigger and not to leave it on the 61, 59. And I think that Amir that proved that he can do it in 2006 election against Benjamin Netanyahu, when he won the Likud in each and every place in the periphery and in the right-wing cities, is the only one that can do it today in 2017.
Michal, so the same question to you about the candidate you're supporting, Avi Gabay, who is a newcomer to the Labor Party.
Well, I think it's not difficult to see that the Israeli Labor have some difficulties, and you can see the consequences. As you said, the left wing became a little bit irrelevant to actually replacing Netanyahu, and even with the crisis we just have seen with the Kotel crisis, us being not strong enough to replace Netanyahu has severe consequences on the Israeli politics and their life here. Avi Gabay is new, and I think I have Amir Peretz. I respect him. He has many merits, but if after 40 years in politics, the best poll says that he can bring 15 seats in the parliament, and Avi Gabay, before he even started, can bring 18, I think that's one thing. The other thing, he actually wants to be prime minister. And one of the problems of being in the opposition for a long time, that you somehow convince yourself that you're some kind of niche party and not an actual alternative to governing. And I think Avi Gabay is the first person in the Labor after a long time that actually intend to be prime. And he's the one that on the one side he brings and the poll says so, people from the Likud, from a soft right wing, that by the way, they agree with us about policy. They just think we're snobs, and they don't want to identify with us as a party. And he can bring them. But on the other side, he does not make the people that vote for centrist Yesh Atid run away. And I think he's the best candidate.
I want to get back to that reputation of snobs a little bit later. But Hilik, if we're looking at that poll, at least, that we just saw, and of course taking polls these days with a grain of salt, even all of these parties together, the center, the joint list of Arab parties, and the left, are not enough to beat Netanyahu. Why not join forces versus try for one of these candidates to really do the job?
We should join forces, definitely, and I hope that Avi Gabay, which is definitely worthy and did a lot, should join Amir Peretz and all the other team after Amir will won. But again, I agree with you about the blocks, but it was proven before. We had won elections that we won the Likud in each and every city that the Likud is usually winning over us, and it was under Amir Peretz in 2006. But today, Amir Peretz is much more readier, much more famous, have another achievements like the Iron Dome that he did, and I was wandering with Amir Peretz around Israel, including in difficult places for a Labour Party like the Ramle market, and I saw the love and the warmth that he got and the support that he got from pure Likudnik. So this bloc will not be bigger to our side, to our favor, with anyone else but Amir Peretz. Now,
Hilik, I
agree with Michal that Avi is definitely no, I want to give a compliment, Michal, to your candidate, that Avi is definitely necessary to be part of the team, and he have a lot of virtues. But just because he's new, it's not enough. Sometimes, and definitely in Israel, the old one, the one with the experience, that one that also made mistakes, but also had much bigger achievements. This is the kind of leadership that we need today as Labour and as Israel, and this is why Amir is definitely the choice.
I totally, if I might, I totally disagree. It's regeneration versus being stuck. More of the same. We have done more of the same. More of the same bring us to exactly where we are. And where we are is not enough. And it's even, it's something we just can't do.
Broadening this to Israeli politics in general, one of the things we hear often is that Netanyahu has been in power for a long time, that there is a lack of somebody that can actually contend with him, that there is a lack of fresh blood in Israeli politics. Why is that for so long?
I think it's a generation thing. My grandparents' generation were the generation that built the state of Israel. Then my parents' generation came. They were all free market. The best of them did not come into politics. They went doing their own thing. They went to business, academy, etc. They almost killed the organized labor in Israel. And then my generation got here, realized because of what my parents' generation did, we cannot buy an apartment. We found ourselves in a jungle-like labor market. And the best of my parents' generation are not here in politics. We had an awful jokes in the labor that until 5 years ago, every event looked like an event in an old age home. Now, every event looked like grandchildren came to visit in an old age home. But as you said, there's a lack of leadership in my parents' generation.
All right, Hilik, I heard you there. We're going to come back to you in just a minute. We're going out for a quick break. Michal Biran, Hilik Bar, stay with us. This debate continues when we're back on Debrief. We're back here on Debrief, continuing the debate, the future really of the left wing in Israeli politics, with the Labour primary, the final round, coming up this Monday. Still with me is Hilik Bar, a member of Israeli parliament in the centrist Zionist Union Party, who's backing former defense minister Amir Peretz to lead that party. And here in the studio, Michal Biran, a member of Israeli parliament in the same party, backing candidate Avi Gabai, a relative newcomer to the Labour Party. Hilik, I want to let you answer what we heard before the break. Michal was talking about some of the difficulties and why Israeli politics has been sort of stuck without much fresh blood. What do you think?
So first, I don't agree. That I think that in the Israeli politics as a whole, but also and mainly in the Labour Party, there is a lot of new blood, as you described it. Two of them are sitting here with you, Michal Biran, my good friend, that used to be the chairman of the Young Leadership. Absolutely, and myself and Itzik Shmuli and Stav Shafir and Ayelet Verbi Nachmias and Merav Michaeli. All of these are new people, new blood that came to politics. And beside Michal, I'm happy that all the other names supports Amir Peretz. But beside them, I want to tell you that we're maybe the only party in Israel that really have a young guard, a young leadership, a students organization and student cell in every university. So I don't agree to your saying about the new blood in politics and in the Labour Party. Michal was a great young leadership leader, and we have hundreds and thousands of young activists, and they will speak in the next elections.
As I say, we have grandparents and grandchildren. Our parents' generation, your parents' generation, my parents' generation are lacking from Israeli politics. As a Some, but as a generation, we miss them, and they have done to their own thing.
I want to ask you, and I want you to explain to our viewers something that is a little bit unique about this vote, because in the result, in these two candidates, something that came out as a sort of buzz factor was the ethnic origin of both of these candidates. We're talking about Sephardic candidates, meaning origins from usually North or the Middle East. Why is that a big deal to be happening now?
First of all, I don't think it is a big deal, but still in Israeli politics, we could keep accusing left-wing of being, as you say, snobbish and a little bit Ashkenazim. It's not true. It hasn't been true for decades. Likud never had a candidate for prime minister who was not Ashkenazim. Labour,
meaning of Eastern, European origin. Right.
Labour had Fuad, Binyamin Ben Eliezer, they had Amir before, now they have two candidates. It's not even, I don't think that people want him to vote in this aspect, in this election. I don't think it was a big deal. It's important that you'll see that there are mobilization between Avi Gabai, my candidate, the candidate I'm supporting, grew up in a ma'abara. His parents came from Morocco, and he became a CEO of a big company and now a candidate to be a chairperson of the Labour Party. I think it shows you something about the Israeli society and about the Labour Party.
Hilik, but there certainly was a disconnect, or maybe still is, between candidates and parties and the Labour Party last time around and the public in the election. A lot of people thought Labour would come out on top. Benjamin Netanyahu once again surprised them all. What has the failure been?
First, there is not a disconnection. I remind you that in two elections, we tripled our power from 8 seats that we were left with under Ehud Barak when he left us, and then 15 seats under Yechimovic, and then 24 seats under Herzog and Livni. So we gain more and more power, but you're right, it's not enough, but we're not losing power. We're gaining power. And I just want to mention one thing about the two Mizrahi candidates, and I totally agree with Michal here. It's not a big deal in one hand, but in the other hand, there is an image. And the image of the Labour Party is that we're too white, we're too Ashkenazi of a party, which is very, very far from the truth. And actually, we have to break this hypocrisy because, again, like Michal mentioned, it's the Likud who claims that he represents the Mizrahi Jews in Israel and whatever, that never, ever had a Sephardi candidate. And we had, again, Benjamin Ben Eliezer, Amir Peretz in 2006, and now two candidates, leading candidates to be the chairman. Two of them are Moroccans, that one of them was born in Morocco, Amir, and Avi Gabai grew up in a ma'abara for Moroccan parents. So I'm very proud of the fact that we're proving the public that it's just a demonization that we're having mainly by the right wing, and it's far from being the truth.
All right, before we wrap, Michal, I want to ask you something that maybe our viewers around the world and in the U.S. will hear a familiar ring. How did the left become sort of a bad word in Israel?
Well, I think there are two sides to blame. One is the right wing. We are being demonized. We are being. There isn't a week go by in the Knesset that Netanyahu and his party doesn't come up with some bill against left-wing NGOs, against everybody criticizing their government. By the way, you could see the same while Trump is trying to do to the Democrats. But I also think that we have some responsibility in it, that we have not made the grassroots activity, how do you say?
A good, we'll leave on that note, maybe a message to the U.S. as well. Michal Biran, Hilik Bar, thank you very much for taking part. We'll be back on Monday.